Success isn't some mysterious force reserved for the chosen few. It's a science, a formula that anyone willing to pay the price can master. Throughout the remarkable insights shared by BC Forbes, we discover that the pathway to achievement follows specific principles, timeless truths that have elevated ordinary individuals to extraordinary heights. These aren't abstract theories floating in academic halls. These are battle-tested strategies forged in the real world by men and women who transformed their circumstances through deliberate action and unwavering commitment. The beautiful reality is that success leaves clues, and when we study those who've climbed the highest mountains, we find patterns, consistent habits and mindsets that separate the exceptional from the average. Let me take you on a journey through these powerful principles, because understanding them might just be the catalyst that changes everything for you. The foundation of all achievement begins with a burning desire, an intense longing for something more than what currently exists in your life. This isn't casual wishing or daydreaming while you scroll through your phone. This is the kind of desire that keeps you awake at night, that makes your heart race when you think about what could be. Forbes understood that without this emotional fuel, all the strategies and techniques in the world become worthless. Think about the person who says they want to be successful but can't be bothered to read a book, attend a seminar, or invest in their own development. Their words ring hollow because genuine desire manifests in action, always. When you truly want something, your behavior automatically aligns with that wanting. You don't need motivation from others. You don't need someone standing over you with a whip, because the fire burns from within. Consider the story of a young immigrant who arrived in America with nothing but $27 in his pocket and a dream bigger than the sky itself. He couldn't speak English fluently, had no connections, no safety net to catch him if he fell. But what he possessed was worth more than gold, an unshakable belief that he would succeed, combined with a willingness to outwork everyone around him. While others slept, he studied. While others complained about their circumstances, he knocked on doors. While others made excuses, he made progress. Within 5 years, he owned 3 successful businesses. Within 10 years, he was a millionaire. Within 20 years, he was funding scholarships for other immigrants. The transformation didn't happen because he was lucky. It happened because his desire was so intense that failure simply wasn't an option he entertained. This is the kind of commitment Forbes talks about, the kind that reshapes reality itself. Your mental attitude determines your altitude in life. This isn't poetry, it's scientific fact. The thoughts you habitually think create neural pathways in your brain, and these pathways become the highways along which your future travels. If you constantly think thoughts of limitation, scarcity, and defeat, your brain will find evidence everywhere to support these beliefs. You'll notice every obstacle, every rejection, every setback, and you'll interpret them as proof that success isn't meant for you. But flip that script, cultivate thoughts of possibility, abundance, and victory, and suddenly your brain becomes a success-seeking missile, identifying opportunities that were invisible before, finding solutions where you once saw only problems, attracting people and circumstances that align with your elevated thinking. Forbes emphasized that this isn't about denying reality or pretending challenges don't exist. It's about choosing where to focus your mental energy. 2 people can experience the identical situation and walk away with completely different conclusions based solely on their mental attitude. The power of positive thinking extends far beyond personal motivation. It actually affects how others perceive and respond to you. Walk into a room radiating confidence and optimism, and people naturally gravitate toward you. They want to do business with you, collaborate with you, help you achieve your goals. Walk into that same room slouching with defeat written across your face, and people instinctively distance themselves. Nobody wants to board a sinking ship. Your mental attitude broadcasts a frequency, and you attract people and circumstances that match that frequency. This isn't mysticism, it's basic human psychology. When you expect good things to happen, you subconsciously behave in ways that make good things more likely. You smile more, which makes you more approachable. You speak with conviction, which makes people believe in your ideas. You persist longer, which increases your odds of eventual success. The attitude you maintain doesn't just change how you feel, it changes what actually happens to you. Forbes placed tremendous emphasis on the virtue of persistence, calling it the one quality that separates the successful from the unsuccessful more than any other single factor. Talent isn't enough. The world is full of talented failures. Education isn't enough. Graveyards are filled with unrealized potential. Connections help, but they won't carry you across the finish line if you quit at the first sign of difficulty. Persistence, the stubborn refusal to accept defeat, the determination to keep moving forward even when every logical reason says you should quit, this is what transforms ordinary people into legends. Think about Thomas Edison conducting 10,000 experiments before creating a working light bulb. Think about Colonel Sanders being rejected over 1,000 times before someone agreed to franchise his chicken recipe. Think about J.K. Rowling being turned down by 12 publishers before Harry Potter became the phenomenon that changed her life forever. These weren't people with supernatural abilities, they were people with supernatural persistence. The challenge with persistence is that it often requires you to continue when you can't see any evidence that your efforts are working. You're planting seeds in dark soil, watering them day after day, seeing nothing above ground, questioning whether anything is actually happening beneath the surface. This is where most people abandon their dreams, in the gap between effort and visible results. But Forbes reminds us that nature has laws, and one of those laws is that consistent action in the right direction will eventually produce results. The bamboo tree is a perfect metaphor. You water and fertilize it for 5 years and see almost nothing above ground. Then suddenly in the 5th year, it shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. The growth was always happening, you just couldn't see it. Your efforts are never wasted, even when immediate results aren't apparent. Every action is either bringing you closer to your goal or teaching you something valuable about what doesn't work. Both are progress. Now let's talk about the critical importance of developing expertise in your chosen field, because surface-level knowledge creates surface-level results. Forbes observed that the people commanding the highest compensation and wielding the greatest influence are those who've gone deeper than their competitors, who've invested thousands of hours mastering their craft. You can't fake deep knowledge, and in a world increasingly filled with generalists, specialists who truly understand their domain at a profound level become incredibly valuable. This doesn't mean you need a doctorate or formal credentials, though those can help. What it means is that you commit to becoming a student of your field, reading everything available, studying the masters, practicing deliberately until skills become second nature, seeking out mentors who've already achieved what you're pursuing. The path to expertise isn't glamorous. It involves countless hours of focused work when you'd rather be doing something fun. Facing your inadequacies honestly, accepting criticism that stings, failing repeatedly until you figure out what works. But here's the beautiful part. Every hour invested in developing genuine competence compounds over time. The person who spends 1 hour daily studying their field will, after 5 years, possess knowledge that puts them in the top tier of their profession. That's only 365 hours per year, fewer hours than most people waste watching television or scrolling social media. The difference between average and exceptional often comes down to what you do with the margins of your time, those small pockets throughout the day that most people fritter away on nothing of consequence. Forbes stressed that success also requires the ability to make decisions promptly and change them slowly, if at all. Indecisive people rarely achieve significant success because opportunities don't wait around while you endlessly deliberate. The world rewards those who can gather available information, trust their judgment, and commit to a course of action. Yes, you'll make mistakes, everyone does. But the cost of making a wrong decision is usually far less than the cost of making no decision at all. Indecision creates stagnation, and stagnation is the enemy of progress. When you refuse to decide, you're actually making the decision to remain where you are, which is often the worst possible choice. Interestingly, Forbes noted that successful people, once they make a decision, tend to stick with it despite obstacles and setbacks. They don't hop from opportunity to opportunity, chasing every shiny object that catches their attention. They select a path, commit to it fully, and persist until they've exhausted every possibility before considering a change. This stability of purpose allows them to develop momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces in achievement. Starting anything requires tremendous energy. You're fighting inertia, overcoming resistance, building systems from scratch. But once you've invested that initial energy and things start moving, continuing becomes much easier. The tragedy is that most people quit just before momentum would have carried them forward with much less effort. They abandon their blog after 3 months, close their business after 1 difficult year, give up on their creative project when it doesn't immediately find an audience. If they'd just persisted a bit longer, the compounding effects of their efforts would have started producing visible results. Let me share another story that perfectly illustrates this principle. A woman decided to start a podcast about sustainable living. Her first episode had 17 listeners, most of whom were family members. Her 10th episode had 23 listeners. After 6 months, she was averaging about 50 listeners per episode and feeling discouraged because she'd envisioned thousands of people tuning in. Everyone around her suggested she quit, told her it wasn't working, encouraged her to try something else. But she'd made a decision, and she was committed to seeing it through for at least 2 years before evaluating whether to continue. She kept producing episodes, improving her craft, inviting interesting guests, promoting where she could. Around the 18-month mark, something shifted. One of her episodes was shared by an influencer in the space, and suddenly thousands of people discovered her show. Her audience began growing exponentially. By the 2-year mark, she had a loyal following of over 100,000 listeners, multiple sponsorship deals, and a book contract. The success didn't come because she got lucky, it came because she made a decision and stuck with it when quitting would have been easier. Forbes also recognized that success requires clear, definite goals written down and reviewed regularly. Vague wishes don't activate the creative powers of your mind, specific goals do. When you write down exactly what you want to achieve, by when and why it matters to you, something magical happens in your psychology. Your subconscious mind begins working on these goals even when you're not consciously thinking about them. You start noticing resources and opportunities related to your goals that were always there but invisible to you before. You make different decisions because you have clarity about where you're headed. The person without written goals is like a ship without a rudder, moving wherever the current takes them, at the mercy of circumstances. The person with written goals is like a ship with a captain and a map, actively navigating toward a specific destination, adjusting course as needed but always maintaining clear direction. The specificity of your goals matters enormously. Saying you want to be rich is useless because rich means different things to different people, and your mind can't create what isn't clearly defined. Saying you want to have a net worth of $2 million by age 45 is powerful because it's specific, measurable, time-bound. Your mind can work with that. It can calculate how much you need to save and invest monthly, what income level you need to achieve, what skills you need to develop to command that income. Saying you want to be healthier is vague and weak. Saying you want to weigh a specific weight, run a certain distance, or achieve particular health markers gives your mind concrete targets to pursue. The more specific your goals, the more likely you are to achieve them. This has been proven repeatedly in psychological research. Around the 10-minute mark of this journey through Forbes's wisdom, it's worth pausing to ask yourself a question. Are you implementing these principles or just collecting information? Knowledge without application is worthless entertainment. If you're finding value in these insights, please like and subscribe to Audiobook Library, because it helps this channel grow and reach more people who need these messages. Your support allows us to continue creating content that might just be the catalyst for someone's transformation. Now, let's continue exploring these powerful success principles. Forbes understood that financial success requires developing the habit of saving a portion of everything you earn before spending on anything else. This isn't about deprivation or living like a pauper. It's about paying yourself first, acknowledging that you deserve a share of the value you create. Most people operate backwards. They pay everyone else, their landlord, their credit card companies, their subscriptions and services, then save whatever's left over, which is usually nothing. Successful people reverse this equation. They take at least 10% of every dollar that comes in and immediately move it into savings or investments before any bills get paid. This simple habit, practiced consistently over time, creates financial security and eventually wealth. The person earning $50,000 annually who saves 10% will accumulate more wealth over 30 years than the person earning $100,000 who saves nothing. The principle works because saving creates a psychological shift. You begin seeing yourself as someone who has money rather than someone who's always broke. This identity change influences your decisions in subtle but powerful ways. You become more careful about unnecessary expenditures. You start looking for opportunities to increase income. You educate yourself about investing and asset building. Meanwhile, the person who saves nothing remains locked in a paycheck-to-paycheck mentality, constantly stressed about money, making desperate decisions from a position of financial weakness. Forbes saw clearly that financial security provides options and freedom that poverty never can. When you have savings and investments, you can take calculated risks on opportunities that could multiply your wealth. You can weather economic storms without panicking. You can negotiate from a position of strength rather than desperation. The wealthy understand that money is a tool for creating more money, not just something to exchange for immediate consumption. They look at purchases through an investment lens, asking whether buying this thing will make them money, save them time that can be used to make money, or increase their skills and knowledge in ways that lead to higher income. If the answer is no to all three, they seriously question whether the purchase makes sense. This doesn't mean they live like misers. It means they're intentional about their financial decisions rather than reactive. The average person sees $1,000 and thinks about what they can buy. The wealthy person sees $1,000 and thinks about what that money could become if invested properly, maybe $5,000 in 10 years, maybe $10,000 in 20 years. They're playing a different game with a longer time horizon. Forbes also emphasized the power of rendering more service than you're paid for, going above and beyond what's required or expected. This principle runs counter to the transactional mentality most people carry, where they try to give as little as possible while extracting maximum compensation. But Forbes observed that those who consistently deliver more value than they capture create a surplus that eventually flows back to them in unexpected ways. Your boss notices and promotes you. Your clients become raving fans who refer others. Your reputation grows, and opportunities seek you out instead of you having to chase them. The person who does only what they're paid to do will never be paid more than they currently make. The person who does more than they're paid to do won't stay at their current compensation level for long, because value creation demands recognition and reward. Think about this in practical terms. If you're hired to complete 5 tasks but you complete 7, doing the extra 2 exceptionally well, you've just demonstrated that you're capable of more than your job description requires. You've shown initiative, competence, and willingness to contribute beyond the minimum. These qualities are rare and valuable. Now multiply this behavior across weeks and months. You become indispensable. The person management can't afford to lose. The team member everyone wants to work with. Meanwhile, your colleague who does the bare minimum, who watches the clock and disappears the moment their shift ends, remains invisible and replaceable. Same hours worked, dramatically different outcomes, and the difference is simply the mindset of service. This principle extends beyond employment into entrepreneurship and business ownership. The company that over-delivers on its promises creates customers for life. The consultant who provides extra value without being asked builds a reputation that leads to referrals and premium pricing. The service provider who anticipates client needs and solves problems before they're articulated becomes irreplaceable. You're not just selling a product or service, you're creating an experience of exceptional value that people want to repeat and share with others. This is how ordinary businesses become extraordinary, not through massive marketing budgets or revolutionary products, but through consistently exceeding expectations in small, meaningful ways. Forbes talked extensively about the importance of associating with people who elevate you, who challenge you to become better, who believe in bigger possibilities than you might see for yourself. Your peer group has a massive influence on your trajectory in life. This isn't optional or negotiable, it's simple cause and effect. If you spend most of your time with people who complain, make excuses, blame circumstances for their failures, and settle for mediocrity, you will unconsciously absorb these attitudes. They'll become your normal, your default way of thinking and operating. But surround yourself with ambitious people who set goals and achieve them, who take responsibility for their results, who continuously improve themselves, and you'll rise to match that standard. You won't even have to try hard, it happens automatically through exposure and osmosis. This doesn't mean you abandon friends who aren't as ambitious, it means you're selective about who gets the majority of your mental and emotional energy. The person who influences your thinking the most, whether that's a business partner, a spouse, a best friend, or a mentor, that person is either raising your standards or lowering them. There's no neutral ground. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with, and you'll see a preview of your future. If that preview doesn't excite you, it's time to make some changes. Join groups where your goals are normal. Attend events where people discuss ideas and opportunities instead of gossiping about others. Invest in masterminds or coaching programs that put you in rooms with people operating at higher levels. Yes, this might feel uncomfortable initially. Yes, you might feel like the least accomplished person in the room. Good. That discomfort is the feeling of growth, of your standards being elevated. There's a story about a struggling entrepreneur who was invited to attend a high-level mastermind meeting. The annual fee was more than he made in 6 months, and he seriously considered declining because he felt out of his league. But something pushed him to find the money and attend. During that first meeting, he sat quietly, listening to people discuss 7-figure business challenges while he was barely keeping his 5-figure business alive. He felt inadequate, like he didn't belong. But over the following months, something shifted. The conversations he was hearing recalibrated his thinking about what was possible. The strategies being discussed opened his eyes to approaches he'd never considered. The standards these people held themselves to became his new normal. Within 18 months, his business had grown by 400%. Within 3 years, he was one of the high performers in the group, sharing insights that helped others. The investment in surrounding himself with better people yielded returns far beyond what any course or book could have provided. Initiative is another quality Forbes identified as essential for success, the ability to see what needs to be done and do it without being told. Most people wait for instructions, wait for someone to give them permission, wait for conditions to be perfect. Successful people see gaps and fill them, spot problems and solve them, identify opportunities and seize them. They don't need a detailed roadmap because they trust their ability to figure things out along the way. This quality of initiative is incredibly valuable because it's relatively rare. Organizations are filled with people who do exactly what they're told and nothing more. The person who takes initiative stands out immediately. They get noticed, promoted, given greater responsibilities and rewards. But initiative requires courage, because acting without explicit permission means risking criticism if things don't work out. What if you take the initiative to solve a problem and your solution fails? What if you propose an idea and it gets rejected? What if you step up to lead a project and people question your authority? These fears keep most people playing small, doing only what's safe and expected. But Forbes recognized that fortune favors the bold, that the potential rewards of initiative far outweigh the risks. Even when your initiatives don't produce the desired outcome, you learn valuable lessons and demonstrate qualities that open future doors. The person who never takes initiative might avoid occasional failure, but they also avoid success, growth, and the satisfaction of knowing they gave their best effort. Consider the employee who noticed their company was losing customers due to slow response times. Nobody had assigned him to solve this problem. It wasn't in his job description. But instead of shrugging and thinking it's not my problem, he took initiative. He analyzed the current process, identified bottlenecks, designed a solution, and presented it to management with data showing potential impact. His initiative resulted in implementation of his system, which dramatically improved customer retention. 6 months later, he was promoted to a newly created role, overseeing customer experience, with a substantial salary increase. His career trajectory changed because he took initiative on something that wasn't technically his responsibility. Meanwhile, dozens of his colleagues saw the same problem but did nothing, and their careers remained stagnant. Forbes believes strongly in the power of a pleasing personality, not fake charm or manipulation, but genuine warmth, interest in others, and the ability to make people feel valued and understood. Success rarely happens in isolation. It requires other people, customers, partners, employees, investors, mentors. Your ability to work effectively with others directly impacts how far you can go. The most technically skilled person with an abrasive personality will get outpaced by someone slightly less skilled who's pleasant to work with. This isn't fair, perhaps, but it's reality. People prefer doing business with those they like, all else being equal. Developing a pleasing personality isn't about becoming a pushover or suppressing your authentic self. It's about cultivating qualities that make interactions smooth and enjoyable. Learning to listen more than you speak, showing genuine interest in others' experiences and perspectives, remembering names and details about people, expressing appreciation, controlling negative emotions, finding common ground, even with those who differ from you. These skills can be learned and improved through conscious practice. Forbes observed that people with pleasing personalities tend to have easier paths to success because doors open for them that remain closed to others. Opportunities come through relationships, and relationships flourish when people enjoy being around you. There's tremendous power in maintaining a positive reputation, in being known as someone who keeps their word, delivers on promises, treats others fairly, and operates with integrity. Your reputation is one of your most valuable assets. It precedes you into every new interaction, and either opens doors or closes them. Building a strong reputation takes years of consistent behavior, but it can be destroyed in moments through poor decisions. Forbes counseled that short-term gains achieved through questionable means are never worth the long-term damage to your reputation. The business deal that requires you to deceive someone might bring quick profit, but it plants seeds of distrust that will cost you far more than you gained. The career advancement achieved by taking credit for someone else's work might feel good temporarily, but it creates enemies and damages your character in ways that eventually catch up. Smart people understand that reputation is built through countless small decisions: how you treat the receptionist, whether you return phone calls promptly, if you acknowledge your mistakes honestly, whether you gossip about others, how you handle disagreements, if you give credit where it's due. Each of these moments might seem insignificant individually, but collectively they create the tapestry of your reputation. People are always watching, always forming opinions, always deciding whether you're someone they want to work with, help, or recommend. Forbes emphasized that in the long run, integrity and character always win, even if the path seems harder in the short term. Let's talk about the relationship between work and success, because Forbes was adamant that there's no substitute for hard work. Yes, work smart rather than just hard. Yes, leverage systems and other people's efforts. Yes, focus on high-value activities. But at the foundation of all achievement is the willingness to put in serious effort over extended periods. The fantasy that you can achieve significant success while working minimal hours is exactly that, a fantasy. The ultra-successful might eventually create systems that allow them to work less while earning more, but they didn't start there. They put in years of grueling effort, long hours, sacrificed leisure and comfort, invested in developing skills and building assets. Only after paying that price did they earn the freedom to work less. The problem is that we live in a culture obsessed with hacks and shortcuts. Everyone wants the results without the process, the destination without the journey. Social media shows us highlight reels of success while hiding the unglamorous reality of what it took to get there. Young people see influencers making millions and assume it happened overnight, not realizing those same influencers posted content daily for 3 years before gaining any traction, learned multiple technical skills, faced constant rejection, and worked while everyone else slept. Forbes would remind us that success is a marathon, not a sprint, and the willingness to do hard things consistently over time is what separates winners from everyone else. Hard work alone isn't enough, though. It must be intelligent work directed toward clear objectives. You can work yourself to exhaustion on the wrong things and achieve nothing meaningful. Forbes advocated for stepping back regularly to evaluate whether your efforts are actually moving you toward your goals or just keeping you busy. Busy is not the same as productive. You can fill every hour with activity while accomplishing nothing of importance. The key is identifying the critical few actions that produce the majority of your results, then focusing intensely on those while eliminating or delegating everything else. This requires discipline because we're naturally drawn to easy, comfortable tasks that create the illusion of productivity without driving real progress. As we near the end of this exploration of Forbes' success principles, let me share one more story that brings these concepts to life. A young man graduated from college with a business degree and big dreams but no clear path. He took a sales job at a struggling company, earning barely enough to cover his modest apartment and basic expenses. Most people in his position would have coasted, done just enough to keep the job while complaining about the low pay and limited opportunities. But this young man decided to become a student of success. He read Forbes and other success philosophers. He identified principles that resonated, and he committed to implementing them regardless of his current circumstances. He set clear financial goals and wrote them down, aiming to become a millionaire by age 35. He saved 15% of every paycheck, even though it meant living extremely frugally. He developed expertise in sales by studying the best in his field, practicing scripts, analyzing his failures, and continuously improving. He rendered more service than required, staying late to help colleagues, volunteering for difficult assignments, always delivering more than expected. He associated with the top performers in his company, learning from their approaches and mindsets. He maintained a positive mental attitude even when sales were slow and rejection was constant. He took initiative to solve company problems that weren't his responsibility. He built a reputation for integrity and reliability. Within 2 years, he was the top salesperson in the company. Within 4 years, he was promoted to sales director. Within 6 years, he left to start his own company using the skills and knowledge he'd developed. Within 10 years, his company was generating 8 figures in annual revenue. Within 15 years, he had achieved his goal of becoming a millionaire, actually exceeding it several times over. When people called him lucky or said he must have had advantages, he would smile and think about those early years, the countless rejections, the sacrifices, the discipline, the persistence. He knew his success wasn't luck. It was the inevitable result of applying proven principles consistently over time. The beautiful truth is that these same principles are available to you right now, this moment. You don't need special circumstances or perfect conditions to start implementing them. You can clarify your goals today. You can decide to save a portion of your next paycheck. You can choose to develop a more positive mental attitude. You can start rendering more service than you're paid for. You can take initiative on something at work. You can seek out people who elevate your thinking. You can commit to developing expertise in your field. You can decide to persist through difficulties rather than quitting. Each of these decisions is completely within your control, regardless of your current situation. Forbes's message is ultimately one of hope and empowerment. He's telling you that success isn't random or reserved for the privileged few. It follows laws as predictable as gravity. When you align yourself with these laws, when you think and act in harmony with proven principles, success becomes not just possible but probable. The question isn't whether these principles work. They've been proven across countless lives over many decades. The question is whether you'll work them, whether you'll move beyond passive consumption of information to active implementation. Most people will read or listen to these ideas, feel temporarily inspired, then return to their old patterns without changing anything meaningful. They'll have the same conversations with the same people, perform the same level of work, maintain the same mental attitudes, make the same financial mistakes, and wonder why their results don't improve. A smaller percentage will implement 1 or 2 principles, see some improvement, then plateau and convince themselves they've done enough. But a rare few will embrace these teachings fully, integrating them into their daily lives until they become automatic, and these individuals will experience transformations that others call miraculous, but which are simply the natural consequences of right thinking and right action. Your potential is far greater than you've likely realized. There are capabilities dormant within you that have never been activated because you've never demanded them. Most people live their entire lives at a fraction of their capacity, like a sports car driven only in first gear. Forbes is encouraging you to shift gears, to press the accelerator, to discover what you're truly capable of when you commit fully to becoming successful. This doesn't mean success will come easily or quickly. The path will test you, challenge you, reveal weaknesses you didn't know you had, demand more than you thought you could give. But on the other side of that difficulty lies a version of yourself that you'll be proud of, a life of achievement and contribution that makes the struggle worthwhile. Think about the person you could become 5 years from now if you implemented these principles starting today. Imagine having clear goals that excite you, financial security that provides freedom and options, expertise in your field that commands respect and premium compensation, a network of successful people who support and challenge you, a reputation for integrity and excellence, the confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you. This isn't fantasy. This is the normal result of applying success principles consistently over time. The gap between where you are and where you could be isn't filled with secrets or mysteries. It's filled with decisions, daily choices about how you think, what you do, who you spend time with, and whether you persist when things get difficult. Forbes believed that within every person exists the seed of greatness, but seeds don't grow automatically. They require the right conditions: fertile soil, water, sunlight, time, protection from elements that would destroy them. Your job is to create these conditions in your own life, to nourish your potential through continuous learning and growth, to protect your dreams from the dream killers who will tell you to be realistic and settle for less, to give your goals the time they need to materialize, even when progress seems invisible. Just as you can't pull on a seedling to make it grow faster, you can't rush the natural processes of success, but you can trust that if you're doing the right things, results will come. The world needs what you have to offer. The unique combination of your talents, experiences, and perspectives creates value that only you can provide. But that value remains locked inside until you develop it, until you commit to the sometimes difficult work of becoming the person capable of contributing at high levels. Success isn't selfish. It's actually one of the most generous things you can do, because successful people have resources to help others, influence to advocate for positive change, knowledge to share with those coming behind them. When you elevate yourself, you naturally lift others. When you achieve financial abundance, you can be generous in ways that poverty prevents. When you develop expertise, you can mentor others. When you build successful enterprises, you create jobs and opportunities. Every principle Forbes shared points toward a fundamental truth, that success is a choice, not a chance happening. It's chosen in the morning when you decide to get up and pursue your goals instead of hitting snooze. It's chosen when you save money instead of spending on immediate gratification. It's chosen when you study your field instead of watching mindless entertainment. It's chosen when you persist through discouragement instead of quitting. It's chosen when you maintain a positive attitude despite challenging circumstances. It's chosen when you render excellent service instead of doing the minimum. Thousands of small choices, made consistently over months and years, compound into the phenomenon we call success. Please like and subscribe to Audiobook Library, because your support helps this channel continue bringing you transformative content that can genuinely change your life. These principles we've explored aren't just theory, they're practical tools that work when you work them. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it, because you never know whose life might be transformed by encountering these ideas at exactly the right moment. As we conclude this journey through Forbes's timeless wisdom, remember that knowledge without action is worthless. You now understand the principles. The question is what you'll do with them. Will you close this and return to business as usual? Or will you make today the day everything changes? The day you commit to becoming the successful person you were meant to be? The choice is yours, and that choice will determine whether you look back on this moment as the catalyst for transformation or just another piece of consumed content that led nowhere. Success is waiting for you, not someplace far away or hidden behind locked doors, but right where you are, in the decisions you make today and every day going forward. Forbes has given you the map. Now you must take the journey. Start with one principle, master it, then add another. Build momentum gradually but consistently. Celebrate small wins along the way. Forgive yourself when you stumble, and get back up quickly. Surround yourself with people who believe in you. Never stop learning, growing, and pushing beyond your comfort zone. This is how ordinary people achieve extraordinary things, not through magic or luck, but through understanding and applying proven principles of success. The world is full of unrealized potential, people who could have been great but settled for adequate, dreams that died because the dreamer gave up too soon, talents that never developed because their owner was too comfortable to do the work. Don't let this be your story. You have one life, one opportunity to see what you're capable of creating, contributing, becoming. Forbes is reminding you that the tools for success are available. The path has been walked before and is clearly marked. All that's missing is your decision to walk it. Make that decision now, commit fully, and never look back. Your future self will thank you for the courage you showed today. Please check out our channel's video library for more transformative audiobooks and success principles that can accelerate your journey. We've curated content specifically designed to help you think better, act smarter, and achieve more. Each video is another tool in your success toolkit, another perspective that might provide exactly the insight you need right now. Thank you for investing this time in your own development. That decision alone sets you apart from the majority who never prioritize growth. Now go apply what you've learned and create the successful life you deserve.